All right, we are now recording. So my name is Amy Kaler and I'm the principal or coordinator at Star Academy. And with me today, I'm going to have the staff members just wave their hand. I have Savannah Taylor, Allison Perry, Hannah Smith,
After the parent-teacher conference is just
Julie Torres, and Francesca Donato. So as I said, today we're going to go over first grade and what it will look like when we are able to transition to hybrid. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will go through the presentation. If you just joined us, you are able to type any questions you might have into the chat and we will be answering them as we go and then also at the end, depending on if the question applies to the slide. Allison, can you let people in still once I'm presenting? Thank you. All right, so our first grade plan for our hybrid transition. The first few slides here are going to be review from the presentation that I did a couple of weeks ago around the end of October. So we'll just kind of go through these quickly and then we'll get into more specifics with the first grade team. So as we've been planning for our transition to hybrid, we have three main areas that we are really focusing on, and that is safety, consistency, and stability for all of our students and for our staff. And then our model that we are using is a supportive model, and it's a little different than most of the schools around. I have not seen anybody in the direct area using this, but we will have designated hybrid teachers. Then we will have a designated distance learning teacher, and we hired on a distance learning facilitator that will help support our students who are virtual, whether they're virtual hybrid or if they are an extended distance learning student. And then this model, the reason why we are doing this is we really want to ensure that all of our students and families are successful, whether they are in person or if they are staying on extended distance learning. We don't want anybody to lose out. And we want to also ensure that we have a safe work environment that is stable for our staff and students. For consistency, our first grade team is actually going to go into this into a more specific way for the grade level. But overall, extended distance learning will look very similar to what it's been looking like the last couple months. And then for our students, when they transition to hybrid and are coming in person, we will be maximizing that in-person time for our interactions, building relationships. And so those will be low tech to no tech times because we really want the students to have hands on things that they're doing and interact with each other even at that socially distanced space. And then our first grade team will also go into what whole group instruction, independent practice, and office hours will look like. Then for the daily schedule, the schedules will pretty much stay the same. The main thing to note at that is that there will be a soft start in the morning for our hybrid students when they come onto campus. So they'll be able to enter between 8:10 and 8:30, and they'll be going directly to the classroom, to their designated area in the classroom. The teacher will have something that they'll be working on at that time until school actually starts at 8:30. And the reason why we were doing this and having them go directly to the classroom is to ensure that we can have social distanced entrance and exit of our school. So now I'm going to turn it over to the first grade team to present to you what first grade will look like in hybrid.
All right, thank you, Ms. Keeler. As you can see, these are all of our grade level team members. We just put up a picture and of each of us, and then underneath each of our names is what we currently are, our job title, I guess, as you can say, or whatever, what we're gonna do in January. So does everybody want to introduce themselves? Go ahead, Ms. Torres, since you're first, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Julie Torres, and I could say I've been at STAR for 10 years, and I've taught several different grades here at STAR Academy.
Hi, I'm Hannah Smith. It's my first year at STAR, and I will be a hybrid teacher.
I'm Allison Perry, and I'm going to be a hybrid teacher.
I'm Savannah Taylor. I'll be the extended distance learning teacher and our facilitator. She's not on tonight, but we will have support from Monica, who's that last picture there.
All right. What will in-person hybrid look like? So we really wanted to focus, just like Mrs. Kaler was talking about really being focused on in-person learning when we have our students on campus. So it will be low tech. Students are not expected to bring any of their technology to school. If you can see at the top, it just says materials to bring to school, their binder that they have, their lunch, if they're bringing lunch from home, a water bottle, and then of course their mask. We'll start with a soft start in the morning. Between 8:10 and 8:30, students are able to come in through the front gates. They'll have a health screening check. And then as they come to the classroom, they will have independent activities as they arrive at their desk for them to do while they're waiting for other students to come in. All of their belongings will be next to them at their desk. They won't be in any shared space with any other students. And then we'll start with a class meeting at 8:30, just like all of first grade has been currently doing. And the at-home cohort kids, so the kids that are off, so the kids who are there Monday, Tuesday, will be in class, but the Thursday, Friday kids will log in to create that classroom community and continue to build time with our whole class, since they won't actually cross over and interact except for on Wednesdays when we're all virtual. So at 8:30, all of our kids will log in, whether they're at home or if they're in school. We'll have a class meeting all together as a whole class. And then we'll have our class time and our recess time. Those times are kind of flexible. So that way we're able to be just as a class. Students, when we're at recess, will be outside as often as possible as long as weather permits. The cohorts will stay together. So Mrs. Torres, Miss Smith, and my class will all be separate. They will not be interacting at all, and they'll be supervised by teachers, or if I'm maybe running to the bathroom, a yard duty would watch just my class, and they're not interacting with any other first grade classes or any other groups of students. They'll be in designated spaces to stay away, so group on the field or a group on the blacktop, so that they're all in their own spaces. When we're in the classroom, academics will be focused on direct teacher instruction, so directly from us, small group and individual instruction. Since there will only be 10, 11, 12 kids max in the classroom, there won't be any technology, just their binders, and it will be really nice to be able to have that interaction with them. Individual student supplies will be given to them in the classroom, so there won't be anything that they'll keep just straight at their desks. And then we have hand sanitizer, and then also sinks available with antibacterial soap for them to wash their hands. And they'll be sanitizing when they come into the classroom. When we leave for recess, they'll sanitize. When they come back in, we will sanitize. So there are lots of times where they'll be sanitizing along with sanitizing their desks and their areas. Lunch, students will have a designated space for their lunch, and the cohorts again will stay together. So no crossing over into Miss Torres's or Miss Smith's class for lunch. They'll stay together just with their group of their cohort. And then pickup time will be at 1 o'clock. We will line up out front of the school and follow the physical distancing guidelines as you drive through and pick up your child. And then afternoon independent work will be from 1:30 to 3. So PE minutes, I-ready lessons, and things like that. All right. Ms. Torres, would you like to talk about what will hybrid virtual days look like?
Sure. So from 8:30 to 9, students will be logging in with their classroom teacher for attendance and class meetings. And then from 9 to 1 o'clock will be the independent work time. There's going to be 2 options for this independent work time. And you can see here on the screen, one of the options that students have is they get to log in with their distant learning teacher. So Mrs. Taylor, for direct lesson instruction and clarification during instructional days. So like they can do that for math and reading and writing. And then after core instruction mini lessons, virtual hybrid learning log off for independent work. You can see down here at the bottom is a schedule for logging in if they want that to get that instruction during that time. And then they could receive additional support though from the hybrid teacher, as well as the distant learning facilitator during our office hours. So we'll be holding office hours from 2 to 2:30 each afternoon to support any of the students who need some additional help. And then the other option would be to follow just independently, be very independent and follow the daily slides, completing their work and to submit all their work into Seesaw.
Okay, so I'm the extended distance learning teacher again, Miss Taylor. And so our day is gonna be very, very similar to what it's been, kind of what we're used to. We are gonna have a larger class size. I guess that's one difference, but we're gonna have a distance learning facilitator. And so that will be super helpful for like small groups and even these things like assessments that are taking up office hours time, having them be able to pull them. And so having that extra help is going to be such a good support for our extended distance learning kids. And then Julie touched on this in the last slide, but the students, when it's their virtual day, those hybrid kids, they can come in for specific subjects or all day or not at all. And we're happy to have them. And we will have our own little time in the morning too, where it's just us every day with that class meeting. And then they could come back in for office hours in the afternoon if they need. But it's pretty much really like what we've been doing. I could talk about SEL. So we do have our Kind Kids Club, and we have our class meetings every day. We are going to start during this after our office hours. We're calling it social time, and we're hopefully going to come up with a cute name for it, but we're thinking they'll come on Zoom and just be able to chat with their friends. And Mrs. Shane does a monthly mindfulness group, and then I'm going to start on Mondays in the afternoon, a Mindful Monday, a little session that's optional for them to come in and work on some of those SEL skills and just have like a space to kind of practice those skills.
All right, safety and movement and lunches. So coming and leaving school, students will be staggered. That soft start time will be staggered so that they have that time to be able to come in, and then they will have designated entry routes. So entering in through the front gate, face coverings are required for students TK through 5th grade when they're entering onto campus, and it's required for all staff and visitors. At recess and breaks, classrooms will have specific recesses like we talked about before, so students are not crossing over into other classrooms. Students washing hands and sanitizing when leaving and returning class, and then breaks to follow like the COVID protocols. Screening procedures, all families and staff we're asking to screen at home. And staff are already taking those precautions. Illness procedures we have at NCS says the when in doubt, sit it out. If a student is on hybrid and for some reason they're supposed to be coming to school on Monday, Tuesday, but they're in cohort A, but they're maybe not feeling well, they are still welcome to log in from home and have that time and still be able to log in with our extended distance learning teacher and be able to receive instruction on that way. And then we'll have an isolation room on campus if there was an incident needing to isolate a student. Lunches at Star Academy, lunches will be by grade level. And remember, like I said earlier, all of our kids will be kept separate from the different classrooms. We can accommodate students at a table in the exterior and interior spaces of the MPR if it's getting cold. And if there's different inclement weather, lunches will be in the classroom.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move into questions. Let me stop sharing. Francesca, were you able to answer most of these or not? I was gonna.
Not, I know you were explaining the hand washing protocols.
So for hand washing, they will not just be hand sanitizing, they will also be hand washing. So it's going to kind of be both. We would prefer them to actually wash their hands and they over sanitizing their hands to really actually clean them off. But sanitizing on a quick area or quickly is easy to do. We will have extra hand washing stations around the campus, along with our regular hand washing stations. We are also getting water bottle filling stations that will be put in because students can't use the water fountains. So the water fountains are covered, but if you send, and I highly recommend, otherwise I'm not sure exactly. We'll have to have some paper cups or something for students, but sending a water bottle every day, and then the students will have that area at the water bottle filling stations to fill up their water bottle if needed during the day. So both those. And then what does it mean by an isolation room? With will children be left unattended? So the isolation room is if we find out a student is on campus and they are showing symptoms of being sick in any way, shape, or form, they would go into that isolation room where one of our front office staff would be with them, probably not standing right near them. The parents would be called to come and pick up their child quickly. And this is part of the regulations for the schools, is to have an isolation room so that the germs are not spreading, especially if the child was found out to have COVID. Any other questions? Will the students be taught by a credentialed teacher? Yes, they will. The teachers are doing all of the direct instruction. The distance learning teacher is just there to help with additional support after the lesson has been taught. So if students need help during the day, they can access that person or the teacher. If their teacher is a hybrid teacher and they are virtual that day, they would either access the distance learning teacher or the distance learning facilitator. It would be the credentialed person. Does anybody else have any questions on anything? What protocols will be followed during isolation? So we're still making this. We will be following the protocols that the county health department tells us to follow for the school. I'm assuming that it will be a room with a chair for the child to sit, and there will be something for them to look at or do during that time. It's not meant to be a traumatic spot. It's not exactly too much different than if they go to the nurse's office, like the regular with Miss Maribel. But I would just say we're going to follow whatever the procedures are that we are told at the time when we open, to follow that. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I would like to end by saying thank you again for coming. We are all here to help support you, whether it's the teachers, myself, Mrs. Donato, any of our staff. We also
And
have Miss
joined
Hines.
at the right tail end of it.
We also have Miss Hines, who, if your child would like somebody to talk to about what is going on or about transitioning, when we get to transition to hybrid, or with the teachers, potentially if they are switching teachers, you can reach out to her. She has tons of resources. She's happy to talk to families or to students. And then tomorrow you will be receiving an email with the track that your child will be on, whether it is distance learning or if they're on hybrid track A or track B. And then we will also include this presentation and the recording. for you when we send that out tomorrow. And once again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us, and have a great evening.